Wherever you're watching, we're so glad you've joined us. Make sure you subscribe and turn on your post notifications to keep up with all things Huntley.
Joining me today is Julia Jeffress Sadler, a mom of long-desired biological multiples, star of TLC's reality show Rattled, licensed professional counselor, popular radio host, and now the author of an incredible book, Pray Big Things. Thank you for being with us today, Julia.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I know that this book began sort of coming through your life, and it started with a list you made on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Instead of a list of New Year's Eve resolutions, you made a list of another kind, and I think God was listening. Will you tell us about that list?
Absolutely. The prospect of making another New Year's resolutions that apparently most people don't keep through January was just a tad daunting to my husband and me. And so we just felt God impress it on our spirit to not make a New Year's resolution list, make a prayer list. And we just, the verse, James 4:2, you have not because you ask not, kept coming to mind. And so we talked about it, we're like, you know what? What if we just started asking God for what we want? And, you know, that may seem whatever, but we decided that was what we felt impressed to do. And so we made a list of 20 things we were going to pray, either until God said yes clearly or no. But the way we knew he would answer, we would know it was him, was we made it as specific as possible. And on that list were multiples, 3 children, a TV show, and all these other just crazy things that have happened in the past few years.
That's incredible. And so these things came to pass. With your journey towards having your triplets.
Yes.
Into that journey, there were peaks and valleys, and yet you were doing the pray big things over your life.
Yes.
And you had some struggles going into that. Will you tell me a little bit about that?
We did. I mean, whenever we made that list, it wasn't that there was anything like bad going on.
Yeah.
We simply just wanted more. We had both grown up in the church, been Christians for a long time, and we just really wanted more out of our spiritual life, out of our personal life, out of our marriage. And it was impossible to miss that as we entered this prayer journey, which like we had no idea it was going to change the course of our lives forever. We entered an incredible time of trial and tribulation and ended up actually having 3 miscarriages in less than a year. And that was on top of having 13 pregnant friends. So these were, and it wasn't like Facebook, like Instagram friends, like these were like my close friends. And so it was such a just challenge. And there was a temptation to give up, temptation to be like, where are you, God? And definitely had those moments, but it was impossible not to see the correlation between deciding to take a step out in faith and this incredible prayer journey, and then see this incredible time of trials and tribulation.
And how was that in your marriage? A lot of people struggling with infertility, it really puts a strain on marriages.
Yes.
So what was that like with your husband, Ryan?
Yeah, that's a great question. God was gracious in the fact, in lots of ways, but in the fact that I actually became a licensed professional counselor before going through this incredible like miscarriage and anxiety and depression and all that. And so it was really neat to actually have to have the rubber meet the road. Like, okay, you've been preparing spiritually probably your whole life. I mean, you know, in recent years you've been preparing professionally as a counselor. Now it's time to really look at this. And so it was something, you know, I'm a speaker and I go around and I try to help other people and counseling stuff, but really having to decide, okay, like, do we really believe this? Do we really believe that God is good? Do we really believe that he has a plan? And of course, no one's ever going to raise their hand and be like, I don't believe that. But I mean, you really have to come to terms and decide for yourself if you're going to keep going this direction. And one thing that helped us more than anything is, I love this phrase, it's honesty creates intimacy. And that's something you say in therapy all the time, but that's true with God too. And I just made sure that I told God whenever I was like, I don't understand, or I'm mad at you. Like, I know you're good, but I don't know why you're letting this happen. Yep. And my husband made sure we kept communication open. Honestly, when we didn't want to pray, was when we needed to pray the most. And we had done a lot of work just in our own lives, and realizing when maybe things were probably triggers from other stuff, and just the communication was key, and then being honest with each other and honest with God.
And now you got pregnant.
Yes.
And that's amazing, and
Yes.
beautiful, and triplets.
Yes.
But then you were put on bed rest, except for this awareness around you, people praying for you, brought about your role on TLC's Rattled.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little more? That's very interesting, that correlation.
Yes, and I really appreciate when we're in an interview and it's told that way because, you know, the story didn't start in miscarriages, it started with the prayer. And I think whenever we start doing something different, God takes notice, but, you know, so does the enemy. And so it was a choice to keep going and a choice that a lot of us have to make to keep going. And so that's what I hope my book encourages people to do. But we had the 3 miscarriages, then we get pregnant with the triplets, and we had people all over the world. I mean, truly, from Africa and Europe that were connecting with us. And it was just like, one for the home team, like this is awesome. And so many people had invested in the story. And then at 23 weeks, I go into labor, and the neonatologist comes in and says, "I'm sorry, but they're going to be born blind, deaf, with brain bleeds, or not survive at all if they're born right now." And I mean, I really felt God say no. Like I really truly believe He said that to me to encourage me. But then there was actually having to like walk it out, and I require no alone time, and I was in a hospital room for 49 days. I'm very extroverted. That was very difficult.
Yeah.
And through that, us being open, and we had to decide we were going to be open on social media and stuff, but TLC got a hold of our story and reached out.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And I want to hear more about that journey with TLC and being on a reality TV show as a mom of triplets.
Yes.
We'll be right back with more of Julia's story after this. We're here with Julia Jeffress Sadler. She's a reality TV star on TLC's Rattled, a licensed professional counselor, radio talk show host, mother of triplets. She's sharing with us about her new book, Pray Big Things. And we were just speaking about part of your journey where you actually had to go on bed rest for the last 49 days of your pregnancy. And with having people praying for you around the world and social media as an outlet, TLC caught wind of your story. And then they asked you to come along on the show. How did that unfold? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm often asked, how did you decide to do it? It was a no-brainer. It was amazing how many people connected with our infertility and miscarriage story. I know it's 6.1 million American women, and I looked up the Canada number before I got here, Canadian, and it was 1 in 6 couples. So that is something that, for whatever reason, is really a struggle right now. And so many people had connected because of that. And then whenever God blessed us with triplets, we were like, we have to get this story out there, just because people need to hear. People need to hear encouraging stories. It's good for our souls. I think that that's the reason that God put so many incredible stories in the Bible to point us towards Him, but to, you know, really feel that, okay, other people have been here, and we can survive through Christ. And so it was a no-brainer to us to say yes, because we wanted as many people as possible to hear our story of hope and of, you know, relying on God. And so that's what's interesting also, is just how many, not just believers, but unbelievers have connected just because of the shared struggle of infertility.
That's incredible. And it is really an epidemic today.
It is.
It's very devastating.
Yes.
It causes anxiety. Often it causes couples to break up. There's a big statistic around that.
Right.
But, you know, watching your story, I agree. And I also think it's incredible to watch a young mom and father of 3 triplets have a camera crew come into their living room.
Yes.
Like, what was that like? I know it's a different world having triplets. I know you even have a low table and you feed them a certain way, or, you know,
There's a table that circulates around Dallas, and it's a triplet table, and there are rules associated, but we do pass it along to other multiple ones. It is a different world, and I think for us, it wasn't scary because we felt like we're supposed to do it. Like, we just wanted people to hear hope. And so that took a lot probably of fear away. And we had seen the show. We knew they did a good job. They did a good job of telling stories. I was joking. I know we were joking at the break, but my dad's been on TV my whole life, and I always just thought that would be so cool. And of course, I mean, after you give birth and you gain like 70 pounds, and which I did. I mean, that's not exactly the moment. Maybe like picture you want to be on TV, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I definitely had to like find some clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
But not about me. Just trying to get
That's
the story
right.
out.
God's reminding you it's about me.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's true. I did look at you and I thought when we were talking, how did she have triplets again?
I was joking, not very well. I was on bed rest for 49 days. So.
You did. You needed your rest.
Yeah.
That's that's amazing. And you know, having your strong faith and also having people around that might not identify with following God or knowing who God is yet, or just interested in your spirituality, that probably was an interesting dynamic with the camera crew in your home. I know that you were sensitive to different people's journeys around you, and I really appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it was interesting. We would sometimes have people interview us that really maybe came from the same background and sometimes didn't. But I think everybody likes to hear hope stories.
Yes.
And of course, our hope is found in Christ. And I believe that's the hope that everyone needs. But our story, I think, is one that anybody can connect to, because we've all wondered why certain things happen in our lives. And in order to survive, we have to muster the Spirit and have to look to something greater than ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love in your book how you've woven in the story of Joseph, the Bible character, who suffered quite a bit and continued to let the dreams God had put in his heart push him along and give him that encouragement. And I think about how, you know, people watched you on television living out this faith walk with God, believing, knowing that, you know, they knew your story and the positive attitude you were having. A lot of us struggle with one child alone as a newborn.
Yes.
You had 3 and you continued.
My husband's amazing. Like, I'm just sorry. I'm always make sure that's in every interview. I have the best husband in the entire world. So it's not like, go Julia.
Yeah, God knew what he was doing when he brought you together. That's right. What would you have to say today to those of our viewers watching that could be struggling with disappointment, pain, loss, suffering, and yet they're daring to maybe try to dream big, you know, pray big things, and there's dreams in their hearts God has given them. What would you want to share?
I would say that viewer watching today to remember that your purpose in life is not contingent on your ability to get pregnant, find the perfect spouse, find the perfect job. God has a purpose and a plan for your life today, and an exciting life for everyone daring enough to pray big things.
I love that. And so, you know, I really think people have to get their hands on your book. I read this book and it spoke to me so loudly in my own trials and journeys.
Praise God.
Julia, thank you for being here so much. Now, here's Mark Masry singing You Say.